Chaos at the Tour Down Under. Van Rysel unveils a bike of sorts. Tom Pidcock unveils his plans for 2026. And there's a lifetime ban on drop bar mountain bikes at a major mountain bike race. Hey folks, welcome to the Ride and Thrive podcast with me, your host, Dave Shields. Well, an exciting week this week as it sees the start of the race season proper with the Tour Down Under, which is always signifies the start of the racing season. And we've got some major stories that have come out of that race. I hope the rest of the races this year are going to be as exciting. So we're going to start off right with the Tour right there. And in the end, it was a win for Jay Vine of UAE, but that doesn't tell the whole story of the race. Now I'm going to start with Ineos because we had some good news for Ineos. They won the prologue in the form of Sam Watson. So he rode the TT and he came up trumps there on the prologue, which is the first day TT. So that was a great win for them there. And also Sam Welsford, he won stage 3. Another great win. So Ineos have started off well this season. I'm sure Geraint Thomas, who's the new director of racing at Ineos, he'll be pleased for the boys. He did mention it on his podcast last week. So a great start for them. So well done to Ineos, and we wish them well going forward also. Okay, back to UAE then. So they had mixed fortunes. Obviously, they won the race. They had a good stage win as well on stage 2. Jay Vine and Jonathan Narvaez, they just tore it up. They took over on the climbs and they just bossed it. They absolutely went for it. So that was it was really good to see. Then they had a bit of misfortune on stage 4. Narvaez crashed about 4 kilometres from the start. We didn't really catch it on camera. I didn't really get to see what happened, but there was pictures of him on the floor. It looked like he'd gone into some of the road furniture in the middle of the road, and he's ended up breaking a couple of bones. So unfortunately, he had to abandon the race, and I'm not sure when he's going to be back. So a bit of mixed fortunes for them there. And then a bizarre incident saw a kangaroo jump into the middle of the peloton on stage 5, and Jay Vine got caught up in that as well. He ended up coming off his bike. He got back on and he managed to get back into the pack, and he'd already done enough to secure the overall victory. So well done to UAE, but also commiserations with the injuries. Hopefully they'll be back up and soon on the bike, Narvaez, and he'll be out riding as soon as possible. Okay then, so to finish up the rest of the stages at the Tour Down Under, I've already mentioned Sam Watson, who won the prologue. We then got Tobias Andersson from Decathlon CGM, as they're now called. He won stage 1. Stage 2, as I've already said, was Jay Vine. Stage 3 was Sam Welsford, I've already mentioned, from Ineos Grenadiers. And 4 was Ethan Vernon of NSN Cycling Team. So, the new team on the block. They are the old Israel Premier Tech, but they've got off to a good start, winning stage 4. And then Matthew Brennan for Visma Lease Bike won stage 5. Now, I did mention as my hot tip from last week, so he's had a good start to the season, Matthew Brennan, with a stage win. So we'll be looking out for him in the future. A Brit lad, of course. So, we'll keep an eye out for him into the future. So that rounds up the Tour Down Under. A cracking one it was as well. Next up, we've got Van Rysel. Yes, so they have released a concept bike, and it is Bonkers. And that's really the whole idea of the concept bike, or like the car as it is. The car manufacturers bring out a concept car, and it always looks futuristic. And so does this thing too. It looks futuristic. Now, like any concept, it's not for sale, okay, so you can't go and buy it, but it is a real bike that is designed to do real things. They've been at pains to tell us that. All the tech on the bike does exist, and they put it all together in this one package, basically, I guess, to see what it's capable of. Now, it's called the FTB 2, or is that the FTP squared? I'm not quite sure. On some of the press releases, it's got like the little 2 on the after the FTP, which is like the squared sign. But the whole point of the 2 anyway is that it's going to double your FTP. So that's where the name comes from. So whatever you put into the bike, it will double it. So it's designed to be capable of very high speeds. And at the heart of this super bike is a motor. It's a mountain bike motor that's used in mountain bikes. It's the Marley M40, very powerful mountain bike motor, and they've stuck that into this lightweight frame, and they're saying, capable of upward speeds of up and over 100 kilometers an hour. Wow. So now they've not only introduced the bike, they've also got a load of kit to go with it as well, which is, I have to say, equally bonkers. And it in the shape of some shoes, which I don't even know if they are shoes. They look more like clogs, but they're actually attached to the bike and you slip your feet into them. And they have auto tightening. So there's a button on the handlebar that you can press and it tightens your shoes up. Go figure that one. That's the shoes. There's an aero helmet with a carbon exterior designed for obviously for hard impacts, but for safety riding at those high speeds. And then there's also a skin suit, which is designed with the usual rigorous materials that are used in the Pro Tour skin suits. However, it's also got woven into it the special materials that motorbike riders have in their leathers and their clothes. That's abrasion resistance, so it minimises the chances of injuries if you do come off the bike. So a really exciting package, and I guess the debate here is, do we need this bike? And I'll let you debate that one in the comments, because I like it. I like that they've come up with this concept. We've got to kind of move forward and, seeing what's possible. They're just throwing it out there, I guess. And fair play to them for putting their head above the parapet, because we all know, the nail that stands out gets hit. So they've put it out there and say, they're going to gauge reaction to this and see what comes of it. Now, like I say, that the bike isn't for sale. However, all the tech, we probably will be seeing this tech trickle down into the future products, if not in one bike, in several, different bikes. So, interesting little story, that one. And I'll put a picture up of the bike so you can get a look at it and you can make your own mind up. It certainly does look futuristic. Okay, so Tom Pidcock has announced his plans for 2026, and he's got quite a busy start to the season. He's going all in on the classics this year with Pinarello Q36.5, as is the new team is called. So I'll give you some of the highlights. So he's been entered in to the Milan-San Remo, some of the Ardennes classics. So we've got the Amstel Gold, Liège, Bastogne-Liège, and the Strade Bianche, just to name a few. So he has gone in with the big guns this year to get his season started. Now, the thing about Pinarello Q36.5 is they are not a top-tier team. So that means they don't get auto entry into the big World Tour events, the Grand Tours, should I say, i.e. the Tour de France. So we're not sure whether he's going to be riding in the Tour de France this year. It depends if they get a wild card. Now, it all depends how they do, as a team, and if they're up there and they get the results, then they will be invited to join the Tour de France and the World Tour teams for that. But I'm sure that if they do get entry, he will be one of the first names on the team sheet for them. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, a nice little busy start to the season for Tom, and we'll keep our eye out for him in the coming months, or next month, should I say, when the Classics campaign kicks off. Okay, finally, we have got the story, which is linked to a story I ran last week on the Pinarello Greville MX, which is the hybrid bike / mountain bike / gravel bike. And it had a drop bars, it had front suspension, it had pretty much a similar geometry to a mountain bike, And in the comments, that I got the most comments last week from that video. And again, it turned out to be a bit like Marmite. People were either liking it or they weren't liking it. And I guess that's up for you to debate in the comments. However, the story is that Leadville, which is one of the big mountain bike races in America, it's the Leadville 100 trail race, they have decided to ban drop bar mountain bikes. Now, again, it's happened, and they've said it's a lifetime ban as well. So I think this is what they've said, and I'm going with them on this one. The first call was on safety, not really sure on that one, and the second one was for the integrity of the sport, for mountain biking, and the history of it, and the inclusivity of it, saying that these type of bikes were quite bespoke, quite niche bikes, the drop bar mountain bikes. They have to be set up in a very precise way, and they are very precise, and only the top teams with all the money are going to be, sort of Pinarello style, are going to be able to do that in a bike. So if you remember, that bike cost £8,500, the Gravel MX. So they're trying to maintain the integrity of the sport of mountain biking as such. Now, the winner last year, Keegan Swanson, he won on a drop bar mountain bike, and I guess they just said enough's enough on this. We want it to be a level playing field. We want every man and his dog to be able to turn up and race a mountain bike as we know it. Now, personally, again, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I like this decision. I've always said, and I said last week about the gravel, that I like my mountain bikes to be mountain bikes, and I like my road bikes to be road bikes. And, that's it for me. You could argue that you're sort of quelling innovation and all the rest of it. And, just harking back to the last story from Van Rysel. But when you're talking about different disciplines, it's I'm more of a traditionalist. When I were back in the day, if you went mountain biking, you went off road, you went mountain biking. You had a hardtail mountain bike and with flat bars, and you went mountain biking. If you went on the road, you had a big road tyre, big road wheels, and drop bars, and you went on the road. And that was it. There was nowhere in between that. Gravel didn't exist then. You went on the you just went on your mountain bike if you went off road, and that was it. Okay, so I like this. I like that they've done this. Now, obviously, it's not to say that all races are going to ban them. It's only one organisation. I think there's a couple of other big mountain bike organisers have done the same as well in America. They've banned drop bar bikes. I wonder if they'll go the same way in the UK. I don't know. I mean, the UCI, I'm not sure about their jurisdiction on this, actually. The UCI, which is the governing body for professional cycling, they dictate everything in road cycling. That you can't have under a certain weight of bike. You've even dictating the maximum width of handlebars. Everything there. Basically, a bike's got to look like a bike to race it in the pro peloton, and they made that decision. I heard it might have been Ned Bolting on a podcast. I think it was Ned Bolting, and he was talking about back in the day when somebody came up with a design for another bike in like 1920 or 1930, and they turned it down, and ever since, that's it. A bike's been a bike, and no, that's been entrenched now. And had this other bike been it, then we could have all been riding that. And he mentioned about the penny farthing. He said what would have happened if the penny farthing took on as the only mode of travel for by bike, and we'd all be riding penny farthings today, which would be a bloody nightmare logistically. So I think we have to keep, some things. It's a bit like Formula One, I guess. The Formula One have a governing body, and they try and make it the same for all the teams. in terms of, you have to have a car that looks a certain way, and the designers, they bend the rules within as much as they can to get the most out of their car's aerodynamics. But at the end of the day, they all have to have the same things and the same standard. So it's a bit similar to that. So fair play to Leadville for doing this, and I'm gonna keep abreast of this story for the future and see if there's any more, because some more things might follow suit. Some more organisations might follow suit in the future. Now one person's done it, the rest of them might all follow suit as well. Okay, folks. Well, one last story. I've got to shoehorn this in at the end of the pod, and it's about the organisation, the company Graver, who have gone into administration. They've gone bust. Now, if you remember, or if you haven't listened to the podcast, you won't remember. A few weeks ago, I mentioned the just before Christmas, the Graver tyre pressure system, where you could inflate your tyres from the handlebars, and they had a little button on there, and you could inflate your tyres with the press of a button and then deflate them again. And Visma I think it was Visma at the time, who were on the cobbles of Belgium, and they were testing out this system, and it had been used in some races up until then. Anyway, they've gone bust, so I guess unless another company is going to take up that particular innovation, we're not going to see any more of that. Maybe just one product wasn't enough for it to go mainstream, or it was just too niche or too ahead of its time, you might argue. It sounds like something that Van Rysel should maybe have put onto their superbike. That would have been a good little thing, being able to put your tyre pressures up and down depending on the ground that you're going over. So yeah, I'll just finish off with that story then, and as usual, please like and subscribe if you're getting value from these updates. It's kind of becoming a bit of a cycling news weekly update, this podcast, and I'm quite enjoying doing it. So, any comments all helps the algorithm. So if I've missed something or you disagree with something I said, just let me know. It's all good. We're all friends here, and I shall see you next week. That's me clipping out. Bye for now.